disclaimer, this is not a blind commentary. I've already seen the show at least a billion times, believe me, I've checked. This is intended to be a sort of commentary or a review of the show while I'm watching it. For copyright reasons, I'm not going to be showing the show on screen like usual reaction videos do. This is good for two reasons. One, if you want to hear my commentary alongside your viewing of the show to keep track of where I'm at in the episode, you can. Just play your episode when the countdown timer is up. And two, I can give my thoughts on the show much faster this way, without much editing. So without further ado, let's start the episode. Hello everyone, this is going to be my review commentary for episode 3 of Avatar The Last Airbender, titled The Southern Air Temple. So here we go, we got the premiere, the first episode premiere out of the way. Really great start to this show. I said two of like my favorite episodes, I think. In my top 10 list, I think these are up there. Not counting as 2 episodes out of the 10. I count them as 1 because it was 1 premiere, but I really like those episodes, and here we really get the story going. We got all the introductory stuff out of the way, and here we have the Southern Air Temple. What's interesting right here is, like, the title card is not white. It's the only title card of the entire series that's never white. It just has, like, the sun. And it works, too, because, like, the black lettering goes up against the sun pretty well. There's also the first episode that's animated by DR Movie. Not my favorite animation studio that works on this show, but, it's not bad animation, it's just when you compare it to JM Animation, who did the first 2 episodes, and Moi Animation, who does some of the episodes too, it's not as good. It's, like I said though, not bad. Some great background paintings. Like it just has like that 90s feel to it. The 90s anime feel. So here we go, showing the dynamic of the 3 main characters, Aang, Sokka, and Katara. And here we have Zuko and Iroh. After the second episode, they had their ship badly damaged, and we got some continuity here. And now we have Zhao, who is voiced by Jason Isaacs, who was what's his name? Lucius Malfoy from the Harry Potter films. So that's really cool that they got him. He's got great range too, because I think he is British. I think he is. So like the fact that he's able to do this like American accent so well is just, it's really great. I'm sure this isn't his only role where he has this accent, but like really great actor. Really great actor, and he definitely sells the character of Zhao. I love this little scene right here. We just passed it, but I love the little scene where Iroh and Zuko, like, they're just like, oh, how do we like keep Zhao from knowing that we encountered the Avatar? And I love how Iroh's just like, he's like, what, did we crash or something? I love that. It's really funny. And it's also showing that, like, Iroh is more of the comedic side of this duo between him and Zuko, because Zuko's really serious. Yeah, it's really good stuff. So now we have, you know, like, I like that the show, like, it'll take like something really simple as like them just flying, and they'll insert a joke. Like they'll just, because it works. Like they're just like, you know, what do we do? Let's just make a joke. Yeah, this is pretty sad. Of how, or no, it's not that I love how sad this is, but I really do like how Aang is basically just it's almost like he's in denial. Like And that's like shown quite a few times throughout the series. Like it'll just seem like Aang is just in denial about his current situation. It's because he's an airbender and he likes to, cut and run and he likes to avoid confrontation and stuff like that. So I think deep down he knows that since it's been 100 years, something bad must have happened. Um, and yeah, it's not that he knows why it happened or how it happened or anything, but like, I always figured that in this scene where he's just like, you don't understand, Katara. They need an air bison to get to the air temple. I always figured that like he kind of he kind of knows that Katara is not bluffing, and he's just not acknowledging it. This is the first time we see Zuko actually like this is a great scene because this is the first time we see Zuko as a more of a sympathetic character, to be honest. Um, Especially more so when with Zhao in the room because Zhao is just an asshole. He's more concerned about his ego and he's more concerned about like accolades in the military. So like we see that like Zuko's just this teenage kid and he's vulnerable. And we hear something about his father and he's like, if my father thinks that the rest of the world will follow him willingly, then he is a fool. It's like lines like that are really great too because like later on we find out that like his dad burned him and banished him and it's really great to have dialogue like him saying that his father would be a fool because there is part of Zuko that thinks. Well, there's part of Zuko he doesn't want to acknowledge it because he'd much rather acknowledge the fact or the idea that his father loves him and no, my father loves me. He'll welcome me home with honor. He's much more worried about acknowledging that rather than the idea that he's pissed off at his dad. Like, and we don't really see that until like book 2 and 3 fully. But this early on, he's like that little piece of dialogue lets you know something upon rewatch. You're just like, is he pissed off at his dad for doing what he did? I wonder. And it just adds more depth to his character. He's not. It's not always entirely about I need to please my father. There's something deep down inside of him that's really not happy about what happened, and I like it. I love this little airball thing too. Again, we passed it. I was talking over it, but I love the idea of airball. I think it's really cool. And then we see a helmet with Fire Nation. I love that Katara like does that. Like she tries to hide it from him. Um, yeah, because like I was talking about like a minute ago, like I think Aang just doesn't want to acknowledge that something bad happened, and like I know for a fact that's what's going on right here because Aang is like walking around this temple and like nobody's there and it's barren and there's just snow and it's kind of just old and colorless. It's really desaturated and it just looks lifeless. So I think he 100% knows as a fact something really bad happened here. Just doesn't want to acknowledge it. Our first flashback with before the 100 Year War. What's really great about this, and not many people mention this, but Aang, like, being really, really close with Gyatso is really, really heartwarming because, like, you know, we find out later that, Monk Gyatso is actually, was actually really, really good friends with Avatar Roku. So it's like, the reason why Gyatso is always kind of messing around and keeping Aang essentially from like his responsibility in a sense is because he's basically just hanging out with his friend again. And it's not just that, it's also the idea that like Gyatso doesn't want him to he wants him to grow up as a normal kid. And that's mentioned in the storm, but like there's layers to it. I like it, I really do. I love how it's just something so simple as them, just like airbending the cakes on the monks' heads. Yeah, there's always that like there's that subtlety of like Aang just going, or Katara saying, "You must miss him," and Aang's just like, "Yeah," like he knows. He totally knows, and that's really sad. I really like how this world, um, things are based on the elements of each nation. Like, there's a sport, airball for the air nomads, and the only way to play it is through airbending. And I like that this door right here that Aang's about to open is powered basically by airbending. So that's really something cool. It's really simple. Like, I'm sure most people maybe would think, hey, if I'm going to have a fantasy world where people are able to manipulate the elements, then maybe the world should reflect that. Yeah, it's pretty simple, but I don't know. I just like that they did that. I thought it was a nice touch. And it gets a lot cooler in the later seasons, especially like when you see like the Dragon Bone catacombs in the Fire Nation and how you put your hand on the ground and it opens this like cylindrical staircase. It's a really cool, really cool world. Here we're back to Zuko in jail. Yeah, and this is like just more hammering in the fact that like Zuko is becoming a little bit more of a sympathetic character right here. Is that like Zhao is just like, so a 12-year-old boy bested you and your firebenders. Are you kidding me? Like, just makes you feel bad for him. You don't really, he's still the villain, but at this point, in comparison with Zhao, he's easily just a more vulnerable kid, like I said. And it's always important for a writer to like sprinkle hints like that throughout before you get to the really big meaty stuff, like where you find out about Zuko's backstory or something like that. Is always to sprinkle in the possibility that yes, this kid could be sympathetic. It's really important for them to do that because if you had Zuko just being a really bad person before the uh, the the storm episode, it might not work as well. It might not work as well. Like, not that it won't work, but you want to get it as perfect as possible. But you also don't want to oversell it. And this is the first time we hear about the past lives. And I didn't mention this before, but like Sokka is there's like this running theme, like, and it's part of Sokka's characters that like he is so out of touch with like spirituality, and he doesn't have time for all this like guru crap. Like, nah, it's all bull crap. Like he's more about physicality and like being a man and being a warrior and stuff like that. And it's there's in the book one finale, there's a really great scene that always gets me really emotional. Is that like when Sokka sees Yue going into becoming the Moon Spirit, and he just has this look of shock on his face, like he can't believe what he's watching. So the way I see it is kind of like somebody finding Jesus. Like, it's like this kid who has no interest in spirituality or anything like that. Like, he thinks it's all bull crap, even this early on in the season. And then he sees his girlfriend turn into the moon spirit. And it's like, you can't explain it, man. Like, it's just, that's how their world works. And I love his reaction. He just looks at it with shock. And it's like, that's the moment. That is the moment where he finally accepts that this world has a lot more to it than meets the eye. I really love that. It's a great moment for his character arc. I love this. Aang just falling through the sky. Not the sky, but the air. And we're leading up. There's a great line here. It's so good. It's coming up right now. Um, it's Zuko's response to being insulted for his scar. It's oh man, it's such a great line where he's just like, maybe you'd like one to match. Like I just love that line. So good. Like they could have just had any other response, but like they chose to make it sound really personal and nuanced. And that's really the word that I would use to describe the show, and not just the dialogue, is just nuance. It just feels fresh. It feels different. It's a whole bunch of elements working together that it's a whole bunch of elements working together that we may have seen before, but it's feels fresh and it takes different turns and different twists. That's what makes this show stand out from everything else. You know, on the surface you might look at the show, you're like, "Oh my God, what is this, Naruto or something?" But like when you watch it and you look more into it or anything, you realize, no, this is something special. And little dialogue moments like that really help. Um, this is always something that has confused me. It's not necessarily a big problem or anything, but like the air temple was invaded by it was invaded by the Fire Nation during Sozin's Comet when they're all superpowered. But Gyatso was able to kill like what is that, 30 firebenders? I don't know. Like maybe something happened, but like I don't know if I buy that. It's a nitpick, whatever. But that's the one thing I'll say. And this is the moment. It's like, uh, we I think we find out like, oh no, yeah, actually in the first episode, Zuko says the sages tell us that the Avatar is the last Airbender, and this is how we know. This moment right here, where all the statues are glowing up, this is how we know they knew that, because like the Avatar spirit has some connection with these statues because maybe they're imbued with some spiritual energy or something like that. Oh man, that is some really intense sound design. Really, really great sound design with the wind right there. Yeah, and I said this in the other review commentary, whatever it is. I said that like the show, it when it has an idea, it makes it the best. Like, so Aang getting really frustrated here could have been enough, but no, they have him go into the Avatar state, and it ties in with like the plot and everything, where the statues light up, and it's very progressional, and I really like that. Here's the Agni Kai with Zhao and Zuko, and this fight is awesome. It's so cool. I love that it has this really great sense of honor to it. Like it's kind of like a dance almost, but not really. It's like it feels like a sparring session, and they're at both sides of the arena, and it just oh man, I love it. Like the way they draw these kung fu stances and this fire is incredible. It is really incredible. I love this music too with the doo playing. Really great, really great drawings here too. And it's interesting because, like I said earlier, like DR Movie, while I don't think it's a bad animation company, I think they certainly are the weakest of the three that worked on this show. This fight scene looks really good. Like it really looks top notch, like something that you'd see today in a lot of animated shows or just animated, stuff from Japan or anything like that. It really holds up well. Um, I love that. That's the first time we see Zuko doing like that spin kick to get the upper hand, and we see that a few times later in the show. Namely, the last time we see it is when he does it on Azula during the final Agni Kai. That's really cool. And what's also interesting is that like about that spin kick, it kind of looks like a breakdance kick, and the voice actor for Zuko, Dante Bosco, is a breakdancer. So it's like it fits, it works out somehow. It's like you could argue that in canon, Zuko is a breakdancer. That's really funny, and I like that. This is also the first time we see Iroh. Like, what kind of power is lurking underneath this wise demeanor? Like, he just grabs Zhao's foot and he, like, throws him back. It was like a chi push or whatever. Like, he redirected his energy. Really, really crazy. That is, like, the first time where you see him. Like, really, you're kind of just like, whoa, what is this guy capable of? And then we find out later he's, like, this war general. And well, we find that out in this episode, but we find more about it later. It's like, there's something inside this guy that you do not want to fuck with. I love how this all works out. Katara uh, saying how she felt like when she lost her mother, and this is a really touching scene where he's Katara and Sokka just met this kid, and she's willing to say, "Hey, we are your family, and we're never gonna leave you." Just really, really, really great moment. And it's the first time we ever find out and hear Aang say that he is the last airbender. And that is the show. The identity duality between him being the Avatar and the last airbender. And it is brilliant. And they execute it perfectly. As something about the title that not a lot of people, I don't even think, mention, is that like the title is called Avatar, The Last Airbender. But it's like, those two things are separated for a reason. Like, Avatar is like his responsibility to the world and who he is to the world. But he is the last airbender, so there's like this huge there's like a duality there. It's like there's a conflict. Is that like he's the Avatar and he's also the last airbender, so there's like two conflicting ideologies going on there, and it plays into the finale really well too. Love this image. Really, really somber image of him just leaving his home. And it's really sad. No Tendon, but this show does that a lot, and it does it well. So that was the third episode, Southern Air Temple, and yeah, next is going to be the Kyoshi Warriors, or the Warriors of Kyoshi. There we go. Yeah, so I really like this episode. The highlight of this episode for me at least was the Agni Kai. I just love that fight. It is so awesome. The music, the animation, the fire effects in the animation is just done so friggin' well. It's so awesome. So yeah, that is the first episode. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.